What?
Usually, huh?
Now it tells you that there's a recording in
I
progress.
guess it wants everybody to make sure they know that, just in case somebody gets upset by it.
All of that shit is going to kill Zoom as a company.
What do you mean?
All this safety and compliance and security, it's going to kill them.
You mean because it loses its easiness and fun and yeah. Yeah, well, we'll see. They have a pretty good, they've got a pretty good head start. As I was going to say, when you're making your pancakes, usually when I'm that hungry and I'm, craving something, I don't go to the trouble to make anything. I just open the fridge and grab shit.
Yeah, well,
I did that yesterday. I came home and I grabbed English muffins and toasted them and ate English muffins.
I made some bread the other day, and
You made bread?
Yeah,
that's impressive.
I like doing that kind of stuff, but that's not good for you either. So
I'd say it's probably better for you than buying store-bought bread.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Do you make like special breads? Do you just kind of bake weight?
Sometimes I don't have the patience for sourdough, but I'll make like Japanese milk bread.
What the hell is that?
You should try it. It's super simple and really good.
Japanese milk bread.
Yep.
What? I mean, does it look weird? Like, what's it?
No, it's just
what's in it?
Milk, sugar, water.
Sugar? Yep. Sugar?
Yeah.
Is sugar a normal ingredient in bread?
Yeah.
All bread has sugar in it?
Yeah, it helps the yeast.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's because you grab English muffins.
Do those maybe those don't have sugar?
Yeah, they do.
How about bagels? Do they have sugar too?
For anything to do anything bread-wise, yeast, even naturally occurring yeast, needs sugar to happen.
It's because it's the sugar, it's the yeast's food.
Yeah.
Right. That's what they say about, do you drink kombucha?
No.
Do you know what it is?
Yeah.
So if you look at the back of bottles of kombucha, some of them show really high sugar contents and some of them show almost no sugar. And now some of them that show really high sugar contents are because they've added, flavor, they've added sugar afterwards. But right. The natural tea, the longer it's allowed to ferment, which I guess is the process of yeast eating the bacteria or something, the more it eats the sugar that's added to doing it. So it actually, even though there's sugar in it, there's almost no sugar in it. It's weird. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally does. But that's been the conundrum of nutrition, right? Like, that's what eat anything with sugar.
Right. But everything has sugar.
Right. If it's going to have any kind of palatable mouthfeel, it's going to have sugar in it.
Do you drink Dry Farm wines? Are you familiar with that company? No. My friend Todd White started this company. This is like 5 or 6 years ago. And they import wine from most of the wines they get. They have these rigid standards that they keep for their standards in wine. And one of the standards is they laboratory test the wine to make sure it has a sugar content that is below whatever the number is, but it's really fascinating when you look at in the wine business, all the things that wineries do to either maximize profits or to make really good wine. And the wines, the reason it's called Dry Farm wines, dry farming means no irrigation. It's only naturally irrigated from Mother Nature.
So it makes it harder to.
It's much harder to produce wines like that. And the grapes are less full. They don't have as much, liquid in them, which means they produce less wine. But the vines are much more hardy because the roots have to go deeper into the soil.
Right.
and uh, the sugar contents are really, really low. And one of the things that I noticed when I first tried, because he said, you know, a lot of people will report that they no longer get hungover, they no longer get headaches, and I'm like, well, that's not going to happen for me. I get a headache every time I drink white wine. And he goes, dude, let me just send you a bottle and try it.
Yeah.
And so I did, and I didn't get the same normal feeling that I have with white wine. So I haven't become a white wine drinker, but I've become a Dry Farm Wines, you know, drinker. And so if I'm going to drink a bottle of red wine, I always have some in the fridge. I always have, you know, I don't drink very much wine, but I may buy a case maybe twice a year. The case is 6 bottles. I may buy it twice a year, maybe.
Yeah, you don't drink much at all.
No.
No.
And I drink whiskey. I drink bourbon, probably 1 glass a week, maybe. You know, and
How big's the glass?
a jigger and a half, you know, 1.5 or 2 ounces, not you know, not that big.
Good for you.
It's good.
Um,
And I get a little loopy every time. We had friends over on Sunday for Monday for Memorial Day, and he made all I can think of is Ambien. It's this Italian alcohol. It's orange, bright orange. It's not Ambien. Ambien. I was making fun of it because I'm like, all I can think of is Ambien, which is like a, you know, the drug.
Oh, he was making Negronis.
Huh?
He was making Negronis.
It's called some Ambien spritzer. It's not Ambien, but it sounds just like Ambien. And so you take Prosecco and mix it with this whatever the fuck, I don't know. And then you had a little Pellegrino to it and water, and he poured me this big, huge wine glass full. Dude, I had like half of it and I was goddamn tipsy. I mean, I was like, I can't really put my sentences together. Like my tongue feels swollen. I am about as light a weight as you can get.
Yeah, I took a big long break from drinking recently, and then I started having drinks again. And I'm like you, I'm a complete lightweight now. I'm like, I have one drink and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, totally.
It's kind of nice to be that way because then you just don't have much.
Yeah.
I
was thinking after drinking that half a glass, I'm like, I really like how I'm feeling. Like maybe I shouldn't have this at all. And that just brings up a whole slew of, you know, like, I don't know.
You didn't like how you were feeling, or you did?
You did not.
No, I did not.
I did not. I don't like feeling that way. I don't like feeling like I'm like a little, because I'm pretty free to speak my mind anyway. I don't really need alcohol to lighten me up, you know, like it's weird.
I don't find that alcohol lightens me up at all. I think it's the opposite.
You what do you mean?
Oh, I fall into myself. I don't all of a sudden become really a lot of fun.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I don't think I do either.
No.
Like, I mean, I have been very fun when I've been drunk or drinking.
Yeah.
I can be very fun without drinking too.
Woo. You should have seen that.
What'd you do? Flip it?
Yep.
Nice.
Well, what do we want to talk about today?
We already are.
Oh.
Nothing. Nothing.
Had a long conversation about what I believe is the next crisis in the world, which is the growth of the underground economy.
Which underground economy?
All
You're breaking up.
the pandemic is going to have spurred on an underground economy where people don't report their income.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's always been there, but I think all of these microtransactions of people that they won't report is probably grown by 500%
Yeah.
at a minimum. And so I wonder how the world's developed governments, how they will manage that.
There's already loopholes in crypto that are significant. You know, like people are investing in crypto and not. I don't know how the government's tracking that. Like I have an app that I've got a crypto account, and God, I bought it, dude. This is crazy. I had a client pay me in crypto and in Bitcoin, literally like 3 days before Elon Musk made that tweet, and it lost half of its value. Like it was like, are you fucking kidding me? I mean, like in fact, I even just said to my client, I'm like, should I be concerned with timing of this? Like he's like, nah, just get in. And like, fuck.
Just get in.
It was hilarious. Like
if you hold it for a long period of time, Andy, you'll be fine.
No, yes, exactly. Like I just basically don't even open the app anymore. I don't even open it because I just don't want to like freak myself out.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you needed the payment, you should never have taken it in crypto.
I don't. Yeah. I don't need it, but I wanted to be in. I wanted to be in crypto. So like it was an easy way for me to get in without having to figure it out myself. And he just paid me. There's an app called Ember, and it's pretty fucking amazing. Like they make it so easy. It's like a video. It's like a game. Right. And you don't even really realize you're trading real money. And it was so easy. I have a QR code, and I sent him my QR code, and he just used the QR code and sent the money over. It was just like that.
Yeah, I trade in currency because it fluctuates so fast.
Yeah.
But not in big moves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So these micro fluctuations I trade on all the time, and it's the same thing. It's like playing a video game.
Yep.
And it's got a ticker so that it only gives you 9 seconds to decide if you want to accept the trade.
Wow.
Yeah. So it gets you like, oh.
Right.
But, yeah.
But yeah, no, I think you're right. I think there's that's interesting. The micro underground economy. I mean, it's always been there, but technology is making it so easy, in ways that are probably outside of the IRS's ability to even see.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting, I think, is the pandemic forced everyone to be at home.
Yeah.
And by the sheer fact that now I'm sitting here going, what do I do now?
Right.
And the human condition is one of like, I can't just sit here. Yeah. I got to do something. What am I going to do? A lot of people got really creative about what they were doing.
Yeah.
And people were helping each other out, and there was an opportunity to earn a little bit of money and get your government help.
Mm-hmm.
So now all of a sudden you're like sitting at home going, I'm actually making more money than I did at work.
Right.
Now what?
Right.
That's what I mean by it. Like, I think I'm not suggesting that it's rooted in being illegal, but I think that's where it led.
Yeah. Well, I think that's also affecting people's ability to or desire to go back to work. I just heard that like people they're raising the hourly wages for lifeguards. They're raising the hourly wages for restaurant workers because they're just at such a shortage.
Yeah.
And a lot of teenagers are like cashing in.
Yeah.
That's their great first jobs, and they're making better money.
Well, I also think that a lot of the economy is dependent upon frontline workers, and frontline workers realized that they're the frontline workers of the economy, and they're going, fuck you.
Right. Yeah, right.
This is a really good fucking pancake.
You're making me hungry. I don't eat breakfast, so I'm drinking my coffee with butter and MCT oil in it and waiting for lunch.
That's breakfast.
It's kind of breakfast. It is. It's, like 500 calories.
Yeah.
Two cups of coffee with lots of butter and MCT oil. But on the weekends, at least one day on the weekend, I have breakfast. So like one day a week, I have breakfast. Breakfast is my favorite meal. I love breakfast. So many good memories from college, from the Marines, from just waking up in the morning, walking to breakfast, having breakfast. I love having breakfast.
I'm not a big breakfast eater either. I need something, but I always start every day with coffee. I should get back to bulletproof coffees.
How come?
How come what?
How come you should get back to them?
Well, because it actually makes you feel fantastic.
Do you not feel fantastic when you don't have it?
I feel okay, but I remember when I first started having those coffees, like how good my brain felt.
Yeah.
Like really snappy and on point.
Yeah.
Coffee doesn't do that.
I've never had that experience. I do it because I know that nutritionally I want to maintain my fast. I don't want to give my body any carbs or protein to have to process. And I don't want to have to feel hungry all morning. So it accomplishes all those things. It allows me to maintain my fast. I mean, it's a version of a fast. Some people would say I'm not fasting.
Right.
I say I am.
Have you ever come across or talked to David Asprey?
I come across him. I did in a lot of the places I was hanging out when I was doing Whole Life Challenge stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But now not so much. I was in and around a lot of those people, biohackers and people who were,
That's why I'm asking.
A lot of the people who've migrated to Austin, Texas, which seems like where everybody has ended up. Anybody that's into the biohacking, life hacking, advancement world that way, nutrition hacking.
Yeah, it's interesting, right?
Austin is like there's a magnet. They're getting pulled. I don't know that they realize the ramifications of like what it's like, what being in Texas means. So there's some consequences to that. Austin is not cool. I mean, just physical. There's a hot, brutal summer in Austin. And it's very red, Republican, very, guns are hanging in the back windows of pickup trucks.
Yeah.
And they just passed I don't know if they passed it, a freedom of carry without a license. You can carry pistols.
Well, that's smart.
Well, shit. It's Wild West, man.
That seems to be going the opposite direction of what it should.
I don't know. Yeah.
I have our neighbors that live a couple of properties over. They're from Austin. He was born and raised in Houston, and then moved to Austin. He's a lawyer, Democrat. Hates the heat of the summer. So they built a place up here. So come in the summers and spend the summers here and then go back there in the winter. And he's not allowed up here right now because of the border closure.
Yep.
And
The border is still closed to Canada?
oh yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. With no plans of reopening.
I heard that it's possible that in California that we're going to find out on the 15th what the plan is for the going forward plan. But there's a possibility that the restaurant requirement or the office requirement, the worker requirement for COVID could maintain the requirement for masks. While the requirement for consumers is no masks. So like the example one person gave is, yeah, I could be working at a restaurant serving my customers, required to wear a mask. I wear a mask, I go home, change clothes, go back to the same restaurant, go in without my mask and eat dinner. I mean, it's ludicrous. It makes absolutely no sense.
There should be a better requirement would be you have to wash your hands. Like, it's not a suggestion. If you don't, you're fired.
I think that's already in place, isn't it?
I don't. It's a rule, but not a law.
Yeah.
And wearing a mask is less of a problem than what goes on with your hands.
Well, it's just the joke of like, come on.
Yeah.
It just doesn't, it literally makes absolutely no, what's the purpose?
Yeah. The point of me telling you the story about our Texan neighbors is that you mentioned how hot it is down there. And I can always tell when it's hot because the messages I have with him, he's not like, he's just angry. I'm like, Leon, is it hot there today? Fuck. So it's always a first indication.
So he's stuck in Austin for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. They asked the prime minister here last week what the plan is, and he goes, there isn't one.
So like places like Niagara Falls or places where the border is very mushy.
Can't.
Nobody's going across. Wow.
You can go across if you're a trucker or if you have business that requires you, but they own property up here. Luckily for them, they have us to look after the house.
Yeah.
But otherwise it's been sitting there for 18 months with nobody in it.
Wow. Has it been closed for this whole time?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
That is crazy.
And what was interesting was there was a period of time where it made sense not to allow Americans to come into Canada.
100%. Yeah.
You guys were a runaway.
Yeah.
But then you guys got control of it, and then ours kind of started to run away.
Yeah, right.
Well, Americans don't want to come here anyway.
Right.
But you guys are down 94% from this time of year.
Yeah.
Why is the border not open?
I don't get it. I don't get why it would be advantageous politically. I don't get it why it would be advantageous at all for anyone. I mean, like, what does someone have to gain by these arbitrary rules? Here's
the thing: is we had the border closed to Americans, but we were letting people fly in from India.
Is that still the case today?
No, they closed the border to India when their thing went haywire.
What about South America? What about Brazil and Argentina? Can they come to Canada?
Yeah,
they still can, because it's rampant down there.
Yeah,
they're talking about, they just moved the Copa America soccer tournament from Argentina to Brazil, and but it's because it's so bad in Argentina. Now they're moving it to Brazil, but Brazil's not much better. No. Japan They just had the volunteers, the volunteers, they're down from, I don't remember how many people, shitloads of people are quitting. Shitloads of the volunteers for the Olympics.
10,000, they said. 10,000 just said, we're not coming. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
why are you hosting it? Stop.
yeah, I mean, maybe because they've spent billions on getting ready, maybe because all these athletes need somewhere to go. I mean, just stay in your cities and compete, you know, like, I don't know.
Stop.
The Olympics are a fading sport anyway. I mean, people don't care. Kids are not watching. Kids aren't even watching the X Games.
No.
And yet there's billions of dollars invested in these age-old traditional platforms that are going to come crash. I don't know that there's any way to prevent them from coming crashing down.
I believe that sport as we know it was in jeopardy the minute someone came along and said, there's no winners in the game.
Yeah, right.
Everyone gets a medal. When
Yeah,
that started to like have like a movement behind it, you're like, well, who the fuck wants to compete then?
Yeah, right. There's no fun.
Like, I want to know where I am.
Yep. Yep.
Like, you have kids. Like when Dash goes to compete, is there a winner and a loser?
Of course.
Yeah.
There has to be. I mean, the funny thing is, back in AYSO, when the kids were like 6 and 7, they wouldn't let the refs or the coaches keep score. There was no scorekeeping, and yet all the kids had perfect score. They knew exactly what the score was. They were watching and monitoring, and you know, like there's an inherent desire for the truth. Like it does. Like what you do is you coach kids to not be upset when they lose. Like right. you teach people how to be good losers. You teach people how to be good winners. You teach people. It's inherent. I think, I don't know. Is there a bigger context around a worldview where we're not competing against each other that I'm missing? Maybe. You know, like where we're all part of the human race and we're not competing to win and beat each other. Is that a bigger, broader context, or can you have that context and compete at the same time and not let the competing, winning and losing mean anything? Like, that's where I'd like to be. Does it make sense?
Kind of.
Like if you have this big broad context, we are all the human race, the global as the globe. We don't have nations, we don't have states, we don't have families, we're just global. Can you still, if we all had that context, could we still compete but not make the winning and losing of competing, enjoy the fun of competing, because we are human and competition is happening naturally in the world, but not make it mean something, not make it mean you're bad or wrong if you lose, or bad or wrong if you win, and still be, you know, a fan of the globe, of the whole human race.
It's interesting because if you take away countries, you would theoretically, you wouldn't have this America, the superpower.
Right. Well, you'd have to, if you took away countries, you'd have to deal with economic disparities. You'd have to have some method of distribute. It sounds very socialist, you know, like I'm not really in favor of that. At the same time, the way it's working now doesn't really work.
Oh, it definitely does not.
Right. So
it works because of its dysfunction.
Say more.
It propagates the need for government always. because of its dysfunction.
Yeah, it's like a runaway train.
Right.
Right.
And when everything bubbles up to the top of this pyramid and the governments go, oh, how are we going to get out of this?
Yeah.
They just print money and they get out of it.
Right.
That's the top of the blow off valve on the pressure cooker, right?
Yeah.
Print.
Or they fuck with interest rates or whatever they do. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But everyone relies on the dysfunction. So
right.
if you take it down a notch and go to the banking space, they rely on dysfunction too, because that's what they trade on. They're like, oh, look, something's bad's about to happen.
So the question I have is, how do you keep the spirit of that the United States has done so well with, the spirit of entrepreneurship, the spirit of capitalism, the spirit of I am rewarded for the work that I do. How do you keep that and ensure that everyone is equally compensated? I don't know.
I don't think you do. I don't think it's.
I think there has to be a way. I think that's the future. Somehow.
I don't disagree with you. I don't think it's in our lifetime, Andy, but
right. I agree.
I believe that at some point the majority will overwhelm the minority.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And they will create the new whatever it is.
It almost like I was listening to a I don't know, podcast. There's an Indian guru named Sadhguru that I listened to some of his stuff, and he was talking about how the problem that he sees in the world right now is limited identity. Is that we limit, we don't see much past our own noses, and limited identity with high levels of intellectual capacity. The smarter you are, the more capable you are of propagating limited identity. And that is what causes the runaway train. Like Adolf Hitler is a great example of a runaway train. He was really, really, really smart, and he had very limited identity. And that's the problem. We're at the top of the food chain where we have this incredible intellect, and yet, and what he said was limited identity has to be addressed from childhood. Like it's from he said one of the things they do in India is they give a kid a mantra when they're 2, 3, and the kid is reciting them. I don't really understand what the mantra does, or what they're, they have to recite the mantra to the air, to the earth, to the water, to all the elements. And I guess maybe they become connected to the universality of everything, how we're all connected, how these 5 elements create everything else that we see, and maybe that creates a context for them. But he's very clear that that's what's broken.
I think what you're saying, in my little brain, to make it make sense for me, is that those with high intellect, our world does not give them space to actually use it at the level that they have it, and that they tend to go crazy.
I don't know if it's the world doesn't give it to them. It's that they don't have a broad enough picture of of connection and gratitude for what's given to them. just by the nature of them being alive on the planet. And so it's a me, my family, my community, my state, and it becomes very self-serving to whatever that group is. You know, if you're Steve Jobs, it expands out to Apple. If you're Jeff Bezos, it expands out to at least some of the higher ups at Amazon. I don't know if it really extrapolates out to everybody at Amazon. And there's no global view. There's no.
Yeah. Well, one would say that Hitler had a global view. He just wanted to be the center of it.
Well, his global view is just limited.
Right.
He doesn't really have a global. It's like saying that it's like saying that the people that are cutting down all the trees in the rainforest have a global view. Well, yeah, but their global view is killing the planet.
Right.
Hitler's global view is killing the humans on the planet.
Well, some of them.
Well, the ones that he decides were not worthy.
Right. of his global view.
Yeah, which is like him playing God or playing,
whatever,
master controller, whatever the fuck he thought he was.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of mean by like being that smart or motivated or whatever towards an idea that you actually just drive yourself crazy to a point where you turn into a maniac.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you think about all the money that these companies are making, and now all the money that they're spending on things like building rockets and going to the moon or going to Venus or going to Mars, like if you had a global context, a global perspective, and you weren't focused on your own ego, would you be spending your money, billions of dollars, on technology to take you to Mars? I'm not saying it's wrong. It just makes me wonder how much of it do we need to go to Mars? Does going to Mars create something that we can't solve here? Do we have, like, should we be working out the problems of the globe here before we try to figure out a way to have a colony on the moon or get to Mars? Like, is the Mars mission an ego trip?
Well, I guess you could say that Elon he's trying to help some part of that by having electrification of transportation. However, it still requires fossil fuels to make it power. So I don't really understand all of that. But you would think that in this current system that we all live within, that if all this money of the people is filtering up into, let's call it 50 people, those 50 people have more than half the world's economic wealth. Why isn't it their duty to disseminate that wealth back down and solve some of the problems you just described, the problems of the earth? And like, why aren't they thinking that far ahead as opposed to thinking like, abandoned ship, everyone go to Mars? Like,
right.
Like, okay, but like, if part of what Elon has started is actually benefiting the earth and its people through Starlink, I think that project of his is really, really amazing.
Yeah.
People in Africa at some point, when his satellites are all up there, are going to have access to the internet where they never had before. And he's going to make it available to them. And that's the plan anyway. And you and I will pay for them to have that access. by paying our monthly subscription because we can afford it. But if you look at the world, there are still people, a lot of people, without power and water. Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Why is that not solved? Like, we say we have homelessness and poverty and so on. They're still a lot better off than the people that are walking for miles to get water.
Yeah.
Why aren't we solving that? Because it's solvable tomorrow and with not a lot of money.
Right.
Now, there's some cultural impediments there, like those people may not want the help, or it's hard to help them, or whatever the case might be. But, you know, like, funnel some of the efforts that way. And I guess, you know, you could say that Bill Gates has done a lot of that with his foundation. But again, like, has he? Like, he's trying to solve disease and so on in those countries, correct? Why is he doing that? Why doesn't he solve the water problem?
I think you got to smell. I think you got to smell the money trail.
I didn't want to say that because
Yeah.
I think it's a common conspiracy at the moment. But like, he's coming up with.
There's no money. There's no money in giving in water and food. It's like there's no money in making people healthy, because real health doesn't come from drugs.
Right.
And as long as we are focused on money being the measurement of success, then that's the only source of abundance and wealth, then that's what we're gonna get.
Let me ask you this: with Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos being the richest people in the world, why hasn't the pandemic made the people that came up with the vaccine the richest people in the world? They actually solved a world problem, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that there was it's interesting. How much are those companies, how much is Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, how much are they making on that? I don't even know.
I have
They,
no idea.
how much profit is there in it? I know there's also a push to make it affordable enough that everybody can get them.
Well,
So,
everybody can get them because the government's paying for them.
well, right, but how much is the government paying for them? I mean, it's not like it's a $500 per dose vaccine. Otherwise, it wouldn't be accessible. The government wouldn't have the money to I don't think.
Let's see. Let's see if they even put it out there. $32
$32 per vaccine.
per single dose. Yeah.
I wonder how that's just an average of Pfizer, Moderna.
Yeah.
I wonder how much it costs them to come up with the vaccine. You know, and how long it takes them to recoup their investment.
Well, it couldn't have cost them that much because I think it was all government funded and done quickly, right?
I don't know.
And it costs. They've been doing these mRNA vaccines since the 70s. They started the studies on them. Yeah, $32 and $37 per dose, somewhere in between that.
There's a lot of money in it, you know.
And then the one dose of Johnson and Johnson says it will cost an estimated $10.
$10 a dose?
Yeah. And then another one. So basically what I'm telling you is no one knows because
Right.
There's another price of $19. So
I thought that the companies had to develop those vaccines themselves with their own money. That's just my own made up. No, I have no fucking no fucking real idea.
let's go. I wonder what the Pfizer stock has done. Pfizer, $39. In December, they were at $43. They're currently now at $39. So it hasn't had
Right.
a major impact on them,
Right.
which boggles my mind. And if you look at Tesla stock, it's through the roof.
How about AMC? Did you see that?
No.
American AMC is the company that owns all the theaters in the United States.
Oh yeah.
Go look at their stock. Go look at their graph for the last 6 months or a year. They're like GameStop.
Well, who's doing it though? Holy crap.
Makes no sense. Makes no sense. They're barely making it. They're barely making it.
So someone's GameStopping it.
I think from what I understand, it's more of the little investors from Reddit, from the little guys who are finding these things and identifying one and boom.
Yeah, they literally. So from my understanding, why that whole Reddit thread works is that these guys have figured out how to trick the trading algorithms of the major banking Wall Street folks into reacting to something going on. And so what they do is they go in and they do all these trades. The algorithm sees it, kicks in and starts promoting a buy, drives the price way up, and then these guys go, see ya. That's what GameStop was all about. That's what that was all about.
Is GameStop back down?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Let's see what they're at. I can't even find it. Oh, here it is. Well, it's still from its high, it's down a lot.
Right. But it's not where it was. Because I think it was like 10 and it went up to like 60 or more.
Oh, no. GameStop was like way higher than that.
Oh, it did?
Yeah. It's right now at 250.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. It was, in February, it was like $18.
Right. Right.
So it's still up there. $254. Its high was 347.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. I mean, like, why isn't Pfizer doing that? Moderna.
I don't know.
It's because it's not about real results, I guess. It's about it's like a popularity contest. It's a game.
So it goes back to something we started talking about, which is wondering how people are winning and rewarded in the system and what the system is all about. And the bottom line is that the people that are way up there have figured out how to game the system within the rule-ish. Obviously, there's many times when they get to those levels, they're no longer playing inside the rules.
Yeah.
And they can afford to get themselves out of trouble when people find out that they're not in the rules anymore.
Yeah.
And the people that pay the price, this is a very cynical view of the world, I realize, but the people who pay the price are the people who are delivering the day-to-day goods of the economy.
Yeah, no, I think this is a generational. This is going to take generations. You know, we're not going to see it,
It's
and a lot of strife.
it's a pretty new phenomenon, right? Like from the 50s, and when we became an industrialized world, that's
Well,
when
that's been happening since the 1850s.
yeah, but really more so in the 50s, where it really started, where you really started to see people gaming the system.
Yeah, and then it just with the technology wave, it really increased, you know, exponentially.
Yeah. And now like governments are way behind trying to figure out how to
Scrambling to keep up. Yeah. Well, now you got all this ransomware shit happening.
Mhm. And as I started out by saying, you know, the underground economy has exponentially grown
Yeah.
globally because we all suffered the same problem. They are going to be 20 years trying to clean this up.
Dude, who would have thought we would go from pancakes to this? I mean, the hell.
Pancakes solve the world problems, man.
Absolutely. It's all about pancakes.
Let's just give everyone a pancake.
That's right. The world would be a much happier place.
And if you saw what I put on it,
Jeez.
we could talk about the cancel culture.
I don't do that anymore. I do yogurt or butter, just butter. I love butter and yogurt on my pancakes, and maybe a little bit of fruit.
Yeah, you know, you're just a better man than me all around.
No, definitely not. Dude, I have to go. I have a 10 o'clock.
See you, bud.
See you next time.
Yeah, you're going to be on time. They won't know what to do.
Maybe I should delay and wait like 2 minutes.
No. Shock the world.
All right, man. See ya.